Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and this time we have our second winner in the 300,000 subscriber replay competition. Congratulations to Slugtime for winning in his T110E3. Now this is the Tier 10 American tank destroyer, one of the two American Tier 10 tank destroyers. You might remember that this tank was featured on the channel a month ago with a fantastic replay, I think by Toby? He had a great game on Arctic region which showcased all of the strengths of this tank, and I gave you pretty much a full rundown of what makes this tank great, and that is the frontal armor. As I mentioned, probably the best in the game frontally. Of course, the side armor, not so great. The rear armor, not so great either, and this vehicle does not have a traversable turret, which means that you have to be very afraid of your opponents managing to get the side. Now, Slugtime is in quite a matchup this game. Half the enemy tanks are roughly Tier 10 and the rest being Tier 9 and Tier 8, and so unfortunately, he has already managed to lose artillery on his team. The Su-14-2 and the Object 261 getting spotted by a T-49, shut down by said T-49, and also the Conqueror gun carrier. That is a terrible start to this round. Well, what a horrible beginning to lose both of your artillery support. And things just get even worse. This Object 260 on his team, a super unicorn, so to say, also manages to lose in that one of the hardest tanks to get in the game, that Object 260. What a disastrous start for Slugtime. But he manages to pull one back and kill an SP-1C, a Tier 7 German light tank on the enemy team, in a single shot with a very meaty roll of 880. Now, back in the day when the 155mm guns on these Tier 10 tank destroyers used to do 850 damage, that wouldn't be such a big deal. But now rolling for 880 out of 750 is very nice indeed. And the T110E3, it just reloads just a little bit faster than that T110E4, which does allow you to get ready for a second shot. Slugtime is pre-aimed, ready to put one into the side of the 7103. Ouch, that's gotta hurt. Another decent roll for 806 damage, removing pretty much half the hit points off that Tier 9 American heavy tank. And there's also an AMX-50B on the enemy team, who is another super unicorn. Well, they both didn't have very good games in this round. Great shot by Slugtime there, blowing the head clean off that AMX-50B. Although it was only an ammo rack for 756 damage, which was barely over an average roll in this tank. And what a great result so far for Slugtime. His third kill picked up 3,069 damage done from base in the first 3 minutes of this round. But it's not doing his team any favors. He is the only one who has secured a kill on his team, and the enemy have raced through the valley, smelling the blood of the artillery pieces that they caught out early on in the game, and are now trying to take out a T110E5 and an IS-8, as well as eventually Slugtime. So Slugtime makes that Bat Chat regret his aggression with an 804 roll into the side of his tank. The Bat Chat doesn't have the largest amount of hit points in the game, and 155mm shells are a quick way to remove the rest of them. And a lovely, easy shot from there into the side of that FV215B turret as the T110E5 on his team gets mauled to death by a whole series of very aggressive plays by the enemy team. Now the IS-8 seizes the opportunity, races forwards, takes out the 1390 and tries to get the Bat Chat. But unfortunately, Slugtime wasn't prepared for the very good play by the Bat Chat to get out of there. That Bat Chat was as dead as a dodo if he had stayed behind that rock from the IS-8. But Slugtime doesn't miss the second opportunity, shutting down that Tier 10 French medium tank and going forwards to make use of the excellent gun depression of the T110E3 to engage this T49, who I think is rather surprised. Oh, God, no! Oh, that's awkward. That could spell disaster if this T49 is allowed to shoot at you with that 150mm gun on that tank. But he decides to shoot the IS-8 instead. But Slugtime, by missing that T49 with his first shot, effectively got that IS-8 severely hurt by that large caliber derp gun on that Tier 8 American light tank. But manages to finish him off. He decides to use his repair kit there. I guess he doesn't want to take the second artillery hit. And getting hit in the side at that angle on the T123, it's very risky. It could easily be a one-shot. So Slugtime is now already picked up a top gun. First 5 minutes of the game, 5,000 damage. He is single-handedly putting his team into any kind of a chance of winning this round. The IS-8 on his team boldly ventures forth to try and get vision on the enemy team from behind the house that you see on the right. That's a good play by the IS-8. He probably doesn't want to not have vision through there. It doesn't look like Slugtime uses coated optics or binoculars on this tank. He has very poor view range. But I do agree with him. I think that maybe the rammer gun lane drive and vents is the best meta on this tank. Great hit there into the side of that Bosch 155, that tier 10 French tank destroyer. You don't want to let that get close to you. It has an autoloader. But unfortunately for the IS-8, his aggressive play to get vision for Slugtime resulted in his death at the hands of the Conqueror gun carrier. Slugtime hasn't taken too many hits so far this game, just that tiny little bit of artillery damage that he received, that 201 explosive splash damage. He's got to be afraid here because there are a lot of very high caliber guns on the enemy team. T-30 with the 155mm, Jagdpanzer E100 with 170mm, the Foch 155 with that 155mm autoloader, and then the E100 with that 150mm regular gun. But he seems to be holding up well, and frankly, unless they manage to hit his lower plate or they fire premium rounds into his superstructure and get fairly lucky, he's going to be able to bounce all day. Bouncing a heat round there. You guys can't see it, but I can tell you he has just managed to bounce 4,000 damage with those hits that he took, undoubtedly from those very large caliber guns. Great hit there into the lower plate of the E100, and the Foch 155 decides to come and have a go. First 155mm bounces off the lower plate, and Slugtime pushes forwards and puts one into the cupola of the Foch 155. As the Foch 155 bounces off the top of Slugtime's cupola. This is not a weak point on the T123, guys. If you shoot the top part of that, that's really not going to work. It's only the T124 that's a weak point on. Bouncing round after round, he manages to finish off the Foch 155, and now the enemy team don't feel so confident. After that very aggressive play by the Foch 155, I wouldn't be so happy anymore. What do they have to do to take down this gargantuan American tier 10 tank destroyer? Well, talking about big tanks, that's a Jagdpanzer E100 and an E100 on the enemy team. Those tier 10 German tanks bouncing off the T123's armor. That puts the amount of damage that it's just adding up all the time. That puts the amount of damage that Slugtime has blocked this game up to 11,500 damage with the 15 shots. And finishes off that Jagdpanzer E100. Now the enemy E100 has decided what they should have done a long time ago, that they should be exploding high explosive rounds over Slugtime's armor, and fires in that first one, doing 331, following up with 395 damage. Slugtime unfortunately just doesn't manage to finish off the T-30, leaving him on 29 health, and he disappears because Slugtime's commander has been knocked out. Now his view range is terrible. When your commander is down, your view range is awful. But luckily the T-30 doesn't seem to know that, and decides to race forwards to try and get behind the cover, and Slugtime manages to take him down, putting his damage total over 10,000 in this game. 9 kills, 10,000 damage, tier 10, absolute crazy round here. And it doesn't look like the E100's high explosive rounds are doing that well anymore, even though he has pretty much been the only one to damage Slugtime with that 331 plus the 395 damage that he received. The next few shells have done precious little, probably splashing over the larger, heavier parts of Slugtime's tank. But the E100 is doing it well here, and it's because Slugtime's commander is dead. You can see that in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, that he can't see the E100. Now Slugtime does exactly the right thing. He races forwards, realizing there's no point in staying where the E100 can keep slamming high explosive shells in, and he's just got to say, damn it, to the enemy artillery shells, and take the risk here to take that tier 10 German heavy tank out of the game. Luckily, the E100 stops to aim. Will Slugtime reload in time? Yes, he will! Taking him down probably before the E100 put in the coup de grace into his tank. but he also receives quite a meaty, high explosive roll there, probably from an artillery on the enemy team who is relocated towards the southeast. What a ridiculous round so far. 11,500 damage and a Pools medal. Slugtime single-handedly carrying this game. But remember, his commander's down now. He doesn't know when he's going to get spotted. His sixth sense won't go off, and he's been reduced to a fraction of his hit points. If those large caliber artillery shells splash anywhere near his tank, he is going to get a one-way trip to the garage. How is Slugtime going to deal with these two artillery? Could be bloody well anywhere. Oh god. Oh god. No. That is... Oh my gosh, that is a serious heartbreak. That sneaky M40/43 on the enemy team, using a combination of the camouflage very well in conjunction with the fact that Slugtime's commander was dead, left him a sitting duck for the enemy self-propelled gun. Well played to this artillery for realizing that he had to relocate to be able to get shells down onto Slugtime, and set up an ambush that secured his team a victory and just took it away from Slugtime. You've got to feel sorry for him here. Nevertheless, while you were exploded into 1,000 pieces at the end of this game, Slugtime, you literally did everything that you could to carry this game and use your tank to its fullest capabilities. Now, I feel like this round deserves the top prize, but I checked out Slugtime's account and he already has a Type 59. So I'm going to be assigning Slugtime the second best prize instead, the Type 62. Congratulations to you, buddy. I hope you enjoy it and enjoy the change of pace from the pretty darn slow T110E3. So let's just take a very quick look at the post-game stats. What a heartbreak. This was Slugtime's ace tanker badge, and no wonder it's so hard for me to be able to get one in this tank when you're posting gigantic games like that. He also received a cool-headed medal, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous considering it was against 150 to 170 millimeter guns, as well as a Pools medal for his 10 kills and a high caliber, unsurprisingly, considering he got 11,539 damage. Slugtime's armor held up tremendously well this game, getting hit 24 times and blocking over 12,000 damage. He did over 5 times the damage of anyone else on his team, and in fact did more damage than the rest of his team combined in a tier 10 game, which is just outrageous. Slugtime, thank you so much for sending me this replay. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy your Type 62, considering that you already had the Type 59. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video as well. If you did, please consider giving it a like down below. It really helps the channel out. And click through up here or use the more info icon in the top right hand corner of your screen to see a plethora of awesome T110E3 replays. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic and hopefully I'll see you soon.